Hello, I'm Laura. It's October 11th, 2025, and these are the Saturday Heartlines. The Saturday Heartlines are a reflection on the theme of the week and the topics that addressed that theme. So, for several days since this past Sunday, we have been looking at the theme of building bridges. So put on your mental running shoes because we're going to go through that whole topic and then look at what it tells us in a message to us as a whole. So here we go. On Sunday, we looked at unconditional love and most especially how we can share it with our animal friends, because we were honoring the feast day of St. Francis, which took place that weekend, and part of celebrating that feast day are the animal blessings that take place all weekend long. On Monday, we spoke to the awareness of algorithms in social media and how algorithms send out the titles and the things that capture our attention emotionally. Sometimes these things include anger and upset and divisiveness, and sometimes most often they isolate us from other perspectives or points of view, putting together what the system thinks we want to see. But we don't get to understand others very well that way. So we looked at turning to the algorithms of love in our own minds and responding rather than reacting to things, and discerning rather than demonizing people, and understanding rather than isolating ourselves from others. On Tuesday, we looked at building bridges through diplomacy and democracy, honoring the diplomacy of the peace talks between Israel and Gaza, and looking at the threat to democracy of federal troops going into American cities where they are not needed or wanted. And we looked at the judge, appointed by President Trump, who stopped them from doing that in Oregon, and really focused on the importance of democracy in our world. Whatever it is, we may think of troops in our cities. It is important to keep our democracy in place. On Wednesday, we had a heart warmer, and we looked at Zach Bryan, who put out a very controversial song. Actually, he hadn't quite put it out, but it was already stirring up controversy, just little bits of it getting out there in our world. Zach Bryan is a well-known Grammy-winning country singer, and he was singing of the oppression of ICE and the fading of the red, white, and blue. But what was really looked at here was his freedom to do that. The freedom of people to express themselves, whether we agree with them or not. And we also looked at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, another Grammy winner, had just released her album last week, The Life of a Showgirl, where she celebrated love. And it is always good to have those celebrations of love and freedom. On Thursday, we focused on the peace talks between Israel and Gaza, holding them in our hearts, and hearing about the first phase of a 20-point plan that was about to be executed, that was about to be put into place, that included Israel's partial withdrawal from Gaza and the return of the hostages, both of which have started to happen. We're waiting for those hostages to be returned, but we are holding on to that hope and that faith that they will. And we hoped, we prayed, and we affirmed our own ability to act for peace. On Friday, We looked at the group called Braver Angels, which has chapters throughout this country that bring people together across political divisions, across geographic divisions, and other kinds of divisions we may face in our society. And when people come together and really start listening to each other, authentically sharing with each other, and finding projects they can work on together for the betterment of society, it can make a difference and transform our whole world. And now there is today. And having looked at all these things, I saw a couple of things emerging. I saw love and authenticity and just a way of having faith in each other when it comes to building those bridges, because building bridges does take faith. In fact, the spiritual path that I grew up in, Unity, at its world headquarters, has a bridge that goes over fountains called the Bridge of Faith. I have stood on that bridge in prayer and in holding a positive vision for humanity countless times over the years. And that's what I would ask us to do right now, to stand on the bridge of faith that is within us and to hold a vision for humanity of peace and of working together to uplift all people. So let's take a deep breath and close our eyes and hold that vision as we affirm for ourselves, I am ready and willing to meet with others in authentic connection and to work with others for a more peaceful world. I am ready and willing to meet with others in authentic connection and to work with others for a more peaceful world. And so it is. And in your relationships in life, especially the ones where you want to build a bridge of greater connection, if you find yourself standing alone on that bridge and the other person or group of people are a bit unwilling to meet you there, it's okay. Because people often have to work through a lot to get to that place of willingness. And your own patience and love and wisdom and authenticity with your own values will keep you standing on that bridge until they meet you there, or until you can release each other in love. So keep standing on that bridge of authentic connection, because that is our way of keeping our own values while building bridges with others. Thank you for joining me today and this week, and have a wonderful day.